Today's video is not actually from inside the workshop. Instead, I'm going to go and test ride an electric motorbike. It's one I've wanted to ride for some time because it's quite similar to the electric motorcycle project I'm doing at the minute. I'll start by doing a general review of the TC Max. I ride quite a few motorcycles as a motorcycle mechanic, so I'll have a lot to compare it to. And then I'll assess it against what I'm building and see what I can do different in my project. There's my little project sitting behind the Harley. Okay, so I'm off to English Electric Motor Company today for a test ride. Alec has reached out to me after seeing my project build online and has kindly let me try out his fleet of electric motorcycles. He even has a big range of bikes in his showroom, so be sure to check him out if you're ever after one. Okay, let's get kitted up.
Need some gloves, that might help. Okay, let's try and see what this is like. Guys were super helpful and gave me a good rundown of how it all works before we set out. Initial reactions on size is it's quite comfortable. I thought it was going to be a bit smaller than this actually. It's a good size 125. So while I was researching my project, I did look into this bike quite a lot. So it's got a 5 kilowatt max power motor and sustained is about 3 kilowatts. And they spec it should do about 60 mile an hour. And on this bike you get 3 different power modes. I'm in number 1 at the minute, which will accelerate gently and max out just over 30 mile an hour. Actually, for city riding, this would be perfect. You get really nice range out of it and would run really well. So number 2 here was supposed to give you slightly more. And actually, for a motor of this size, I was expecting it to not have as much poke, and it's good. Off the line from, say, 0 to 20, it definitely seems to have more go in it than a 125. So setting number 3 is full power, full acceleration and full max speed. So obviously the range will drop quite significantly if you're going to run it in this power mode. Let's have a look and see what this is like. Acceleration's good. Better than a 125.
So the wind noise got too much over 35 mile an hour. But what I was waffling on about is how this bike accelerates really nicely from 0 to 50 mile an hour. And then over 50 mile an hour, it slowly creeps up the speed. I got it over 55, and I think I could have got to that specified 60 mile an hour. But do bear in mind, I am pretty small. I'm 5'5", and I weigh about 70 kilograms. So it might be less if you're a bit bigger.
This bike is definitely marketed at people who are going to be city commuting and maybe do a few back roads or B roads. But it's a comfortable bike, a comfortable ride. It's actually far quicker and far more nippy than I thought it was going to be, with only a 5 kilowatt motor. And another big bonus that I really quite like is the belt drive. Chains are really noisy, and when you don't have an engine to make all that noise and cover up the chain rattle, I think a belt is a good idea. I'm actually a fan of the belt drive on an electric motorcycle. It makes a lot of sense.
It's the next day, so let's do a quick roundup as I've had a bit of time to think about what I thought of that bike. So I was impressed, and it was actually better than I thought it was going to be. The 3 kilowatt sustained motor had more go in it than I thought it would. To actually be able to get over 50 mile an hour was pretty impressive. Also, by the looks of the battery gauge, it looked like it would have done 60 mile an hour if I rode it really gently, and for an optimistic 40 to 45 miles, I think that's pretty good on one of those batteries. The bike rode nicely. I'd say it was slightly smaller than, say, a KTM Duke 125, but it didn't feel as small as I thought it was going to. The suspension was maybe on the firmer side, which I'm actually a fan of. The only downside was maybe the front brake was a little bit lacking, but the bike was not designed to do 60 mile an hour and be braking from those higher speeds all the time. So what have I learned that I can then use on my electric motorbike? Well, the battery and motor of spec, I think, are well within range. My motor is 5 kilowatts sustained and 10 kilowatt peak, and that'll definitely reach my 60 mile an hour goal, which I want to achieve. Also, the battery in the Super Soco is 2.7 kilowatt hours. My single battery is 3.7, and I want to use 2 of these to hopefully get my 100 mile range, which, going by the figures of the Super Soco, I think is achievable. The other thing I picked up is I like the double brakes on the handlebars, so I'm definitely going to be fitting a front brake on the left handlebar. So I'm on track, and it's reinforced what I was building in the first place. That was a worth test ride.